Marketing That Works is the podcast for business owners who want to move their brand forward so that they can bring in more sales and clients. I'm Danielle Harris, and I'm bringing you what I know from more than 12 years of experience in traditional and online marketing. I have created marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes, from multi-million-dollar corporations to early-stage online businesses. Remember, some marketers chase fads. I believe in mastering the fundamentals. I declared this the summer of experimentation. Now that summer is coming to a close, it's time to recap what that summer actually looked like. Today, I'm going to give a breakdown of the big things that happened over the last 3 months during my summer of experimentation. I'm going to talk about the wins that I had, why I almost thought that the summer of experimentation was a flop, and the lessons that I'm going to walk away with. So, let's get into this very fun, very chatty episode. So if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, back in episode 60, back in June, I talked about how summertime is the perfect time to start experimenting and working on your marketing. And so I declared that for the next 3 months, I was going to take on my own experiments. I was going to test things out, and I'm going to share with you what that exactly looks like. So go back to episode 60 where I broke down exactly what that looks like. And then you can come back to this episode right here to see my full results of what happened. So with this summer of experimentation, I want to start off with the wins, some of the things that I took away while I went over these past 3 months. This summer of experimentation, it really helped me to realize that writing is something that I really enjoy doing, and that really took hold and that really presented itself when I decided that I was actually going to create a Substack page. So for those of you who are not familiar or don't really know what that is, Substack is like a blog and email platform rolled up into one. And so what you post on like this blog type platform, it then can go emailed out to people that subscribe to your list. And so I have been wanting to play around with writing for a while now. And during the summer of experimentation, one of the things that I decided to do was explore some of the interests and explore some of the things that I was like, you know what, I've always kind of wanted to do this and just go where my mind and go where my interests led me, and it led me in that direction, and I've been enjoying that so far. Now, I cannot speak to the direct ROI at this point. I think it's very much too soon to tell, but on a personal side, I definitely enjoy being on that platform, and part of the summer of experimentation was also seeing like what lights me up and what do I enjoy. Writing is something that I very much enjoy. And so Substack was a really great way for me to really engage on that side of things. So that was the first big win that came out of this. Now, the writing portion of it, it shouldn't have been a huge surprise. I very much enjoy writing out the scripts that I do for reels on Instagram. I write out everything for this particular podcast. Everything is all outlined and scripted out word for word. It's not just a couple bullet points and then I just talk off the cuff. I really take a lot of time and intention of writing every single thing that I want to have down. So the fact that I very much wanted to write should not have been a surprise, and yet it was that I really want to lean a little bit more onto that side of things. And so it was great that during this summer of experimentation, I could lean a little bit more onto that inclination. Now, the second one that I had during the summer of experimentation was realizing the types and styles of content that seem to resonate with people in my audience. Now, this was one of the core main goals of the summer of experimentation, of seeing what resonates with people. And the thing that I learned, fortunately, unfortunately, was that there's one particular style of content on Instagram that seems to perform very well for me. And that is a voiceover video. On Instagram, it seems that people like my voiceovers. Now, I have a few suspicions as to why, and I want to break down why in particular. First things first, I personally find it easier for me to just do a face to camera video where I just set the camera up, I speak into the camera, and I read off of a script that I've previously written, which obviously ties very much back into my first point about writing things out and calling it a day. And I just feel that that's super easy, super fast, super quick for me. But I have found during the summer of experimentation that voiceovers actually perform a lot more. I had seen a very large increase in the amount of shares, the amount of comments, the amount of likes that I got based off of that particular style. And I have a suspicion that it's because of a few different things. First, it's a style that I don't typically do. I tend to do a lot more face to camera type content. And so whenever I do something that is different, that's automatically going to get a little bit more engagement. People are going to look at it a little bit more because it's something different than what I'm used to doing. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I think really helps people to really engage with me on this type of content, this voiceover style content versus other things that I do, is that in the voiceover type of content, I'm showing a little bit more personality. Now, if you are aware of my story at all or know where I came from a corporate structure where it was very much buttoned up. It was very much to the point. It was very much about being professional and professionalism and all the things that go along with that. And there's a lot to be said about that, showing up as a professional, specifically as a Black woman. But I think that when I do these voiceover styles, I'm actually a little bit more inclined to show a bit more personality and a bit more style and show things that I'm not typically showing when I just do a face to camera type video. And so I think that that gets people to really connect with me on a deeper level, and it gets people to want to engage. And the other portion of it is that when I do the voiceover style video, I'm including a lot more visually engaging elements. And so it has way more clips. It's not just me looking at a camera and talking. I'm having a lot of B-roll footage. I'm having a lot of images of me doing things out and about, and people get to see a hint of insight into what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis. Again, more of that personality. And so the visual engagement plus the peek at my personality and style, the more connection and difference from what I typically do, I think that all made for the right ingredients of, okay, this is getting me more engagement. Now, I have to say that it's a little disappointing for me for that because, like I said, I'd rather just sit down, talk in front of a camera and call it a day. And I don't personally have a full bank of B-roll footage that I can just pull from, so I can just go boop, 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 edit something real quick in InShot, my editor of choice, and put it out there. I have to be a little bit more intentional. So the one that I had is that, yes, I know what is going to connect with people, and I know where I can experiment more so into the future. The downside is it's a bit of a stretch. It has me to thinking a little bit more in advance of what it is that I'm going to do, thinking more of the different shots that I want to have. Although that's something that I help people and clients with all the time, of planning out shots. And it's something that I'm actually very good at, of being able to plan out detailed shots, plan out wide angle shots, all of these things. That's what I did in my corporate job, a lot of planning out, video content. But again, I don't have that bank yet. So that's another thing that I'll have to work on. So it's a win, but it's also one of those disappointing things where you're just I don't work, I didn't do this, but we all experience that. So it's something that I'm going to work on in the future, of building that up so I can actually get up and going and do more of what actually helps me connect with the people that, I want to connect with. Now, the third thing that I learned while I had the summer of experimentation was that people really like case studies that I do on myself. This whole podcast episode is kind of a culmination of that as well. And I didn't realize how meta of a situation this would be, but it turns out people are nosy. That shouldn't be shocking or headline news, but people are nosy. People want to know what you're doing, how you're going about doing things. And one of the posts in particular that got a lot of attention and a lot of people saying like, oh my gosh, this is so good, this is really great, is so interesting to hear about this, was a case study that I did on myself about how I analyzed over 100, close to 200 emails that I had sent, and using that to determine what style of emails I should be sending out to my list more often. And I gave a full breakdown on Instagram, and I think I talked about it here on this podcast before, but I gave a whole breakdown of what I thought was going to work, how I was leaning in the wrong direction, that I needed to pivot, and all of these other things. People really enjoyed that. They saw that like, oh, this is how your marketing brain works. This is how you analyze data. This is how you think about marketing and crafting your message. And having that insight into that helped people see like, oh, okay, this is how she thinks about things. And then at the same time being able to say, okay, if this is how she thinks about things, if I worked with her, maybe this is something that she can go and apply to my business so I can, get these same revelations as well. So I also see that I need to do more of these types of breakdowns of what I'm doing, my process, behind the scenes type thing. And my little perfectionist self kind of doesn't like that because, oh, what if I mess up? What if I didn't learn anything great and all these other things? And no, all those things were running in the back of my head. But also, that's the honest reality of things. And people love that type of connection, authenticity of saying, yep, this worked, or nope, this flopped. And people feel closer after being able to see and recognize that. And so that's something else I'm going to be doing more of in my content. So I consider that a win of something more that I should be doing. So I broke down the 3 things that I learned. I learned that I love writing. I'll be doing more of that. I learned that people love my voiceover content and seeing my personality and connection. So I'll be doing more of that. And I also learned that people love my own case studies on myself and what I'm doing. So I'll be doing more of that as well. So I broke down the wins. Let's talk about why I almost thought that this summer of experimentation was a flop. Now, one of the things that had me thinking that this summer of experimentation was a flop was the fact that I was doing too much. So here's what I mean when I said that I was doing too much. Now, I knew going into that doing too much meant testing too many things, trying too many things, expecting to get results on too many things. I knew this going into the summer of experimentation, and yet I still fell into the same trap that I knew that I could easily fall into. One of the things that I wanted to test was a new platform, Substack. Another thing that I wanted to test was how I can engage with people more. Another thing that I wanted to test was topics that would be interesting. Another thing that I wanted to test was conversions and how I can convert people more. That was doing too much. And because I wanted to get so much information, I wanted to get so much data, I wanted to try so many new things, it split my focus and attention, and it made me overwhelmed about what I should do first. And so it had me thinking, oh, I need to be overly prepared. I need to do all of these different things and all of this and all of that. And it had me freezing. Essentially had me frozen in place of what do I do first? What do I test first? What do I try first? And that had me slowing down. And that almost made this entire thing a flop. Now, thankfully, I still made progress. I still created some things, but it was not nearly the amount that I had initially anticipated doing. And that's because I was trying to do a lot. I thought that if I tried and tested more things, I would get more results faster, when essentially I would have gotten more information if I just narrowed in my focus, if I only tested one thing. Like, say if I only tested trying things out on Substack and I just went all in on that for 3 months. Or let's say that one of the other experiments I was thinking about doing is testing how I can be more relationship driven on Instagram and convert only and only sell and do hard pitching through email. If I had only focused on that element of it, I would have also learned a whole lot more. But I was trying to do too much all at once, and it had me frozen and not doing very much of anything. Now, again, I had wins. I listed all of those out at the very beginning. But imagine how much more depth I could have had if I even more so narrowed in my focus. So that's one of the ways that I thought that this summer of experimentation almost flopped, because I was doing too much and not getting nearly as much as I could have. Now, another thing that had me thinking that this summer of experimentation was going to be a flop was my traveling. Now, in the end of June into July and in parts of August, I was traveling. I traveled for several weeks to visit family in end of June and July. I went on a friend's birthday trip in August, and that I wasn't prepared for. Now, I'll tell you how I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for it in the sense of the recovery afterwards. Now, I think a lot of people, a lot of marketers, a lot of content creators, they talk about the preparation for when you are actually gone. And that is actually what I was fully prepared for. I had content planned out for that entire time. I had, for that time in end of June into July, it was a couple weeks into July, I had content planned. I had emails planned. I had podcast episodes planned. I had all of these things staggered, ready to go, pre-scheduled, edited. They were fine. It was great. It was the recovery portion of it that I wasn't prepared for. What I didn't take into account is that when I travel, especially when I'm traveling to see family, it's not like a vacation where it's just like, oh, it's relaxing and I come back rejuvenated. Like, it's great and it fills my cup in one way, but like also on like an energy level, I'm just like, I'm tired afterwards. And so I didn't take into account the recovery time that I would have for these social travel interactions. And so when I came back in late July, I didn't plan on taking an entire week off after that. And because I didn't prepare for that, I felt very guilty about it. I felt as if like, oh my gosh, like I'm falling off. I'm losing this momentum. I had all these things going into it. I thought I was prepared. I thought I was ready, and I wasn't. And so that bounce back from that took longer than I anticipated. And that kind of slowed down the things that I wanted to test and wanted to try, because I just didn't have anything ready or prepared. And so one of the key takeaways and lessons that I have for this is that I know that if I am going to be traveling, whether it's during the summer or any time of the year, and I am intentionally wanting to market and really trying to do something in particular, whether it's selling, whether it's testing, whether it's nurturing audience, I know that I need to have a plan, not just for when I am actually gone, but I need to also have a plan for recovery when I come back. And that's something that I need to decide in advance. Now, it could just be a decision that I make where I realize like, oh, well, I'm just not going to post for a week or for however much time. That is fine, and that is a decision. But what got me messed up was the fact that I didn't make that decision in advance. I felt guilty that I hadn't made a decision, and so I was stressed out, freaked out, like, oh, what am I doing? This is going to mess up my thing. Like, it had me going in a spiral, and it didn't necessarily need to be. I could have just decided like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to plan to for 1 week not have anything, and for these other couple weeks I have things already outlined, planned out, ready to go. If I had just made that decision in advance, I would not have freaked out, I would not have spun out, and I would have still been right on track, plugging along and getting all the information and the data that I wanted for the summer of experimentation. So on one hand, while I was like, oh my gosh, I was so freaked out, this actually is helpful information. And this is a reframe that I want for all of you to have as well. A lot of times things don't go according to plan with experiments, with anything that you're testing, but a lot of times the things that don't go well give you the most information. And so I have learned and realized that I need to not only plan, like I said, for my actual time being gone, I need to have a plan for when I return so I can have a recovery plan so I'm set and ready to go. And the ironic part for me is that I always tell my clients this. I just didn't realize how core and necessary this is for me. And so that's great information for me to know, to be able to incorporate into the future. So these two things were the biggest things that came to light for me, and why it felt like this summer of experimentation was going to flop, because with both of those instances, it felt like I was disappointing myself, or you all, because I was taking you all on the ride with me as I was going through this process. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? Like, I couldn't do all these things magically perfectly and get these perfect results. And at the end of the day, I realized that this is helpful for people to be able to see that, okay, you need to narrow your scope. You need to give yourself grace. You need to give yourself a plan. You need to plan for your energy. You need to plan for all of these things. And that is helpful if you are creating a plan for marketing your business and creating content and all of these things. And so the next time that I plan out this summer of experimentation, or wherever I brand this for the fall, that's going to be helpful for me to take into account when I'm planning things out. So like I said, in the moment, it felt like a flop. I was just like, oh, this is terrible. I'm not posting as much as I wanted. I'm traveling. I'm not putting in the weeks and the amount of time that I wanted to have. But at the end of the day, all of this is great information for me, and I'm glad that I'm able to document this at this moment in time, preserve it, and also share it all with you. Now, just to recap, the summer of experimentation, it worked. I learned a lot of information. I learned that I love writing and that I should incorporate more of that whenever and however I get a chance to do that. That's something that I naturally inclined to want to do. I've always wanted to write in some way, shape, or form since I was a child. And so I want to lean into that more. And so I realized that that's something that I need to make sure I'm being intentional about doing. I also learned that people really want to engage with me and see what I'm like behind the scenes and how it is that I'm doing things, my personality, and they really want to connect with me. And that gets people engaged, particularly the people who have been following me for a while. They're just like, oh my gosh, Danielle, I did not realize that about you, or you're so funny, or just like, oh my gosh, I didn't know this random thing that we're randomly connected on. And so that taught me that I need to create more of those moments so that people can connect with me. And I've always said, like, oh, I don't know, people don't find me interesting, or I don't know. I've never allowed people to have a chance to do that. So I learned that I need to do more of that. And I need to show people behind the scenes of what it is that I'm working on, what I'm learning, the things that I'm taking away, and how I'm applying that, and the results of that at the end of the day. So those are some of the things that I learned. As well as, don't try to do too much. I'm always trying to do too much. I have clients who are also trying to do too much. So we're going to be on this journey together of narrowing in our focus, doing one thing at a time, and allowing that one thing to give us so much information that we can move very fast on. So there's that. And also when traveling, which I love to travel, you all. Like, I don't know if you all realize, with my previous job, I was traveling around the world. Dubai, around the country. Like, that's one of the things that I always did. And so it really reinforced to me that when I'm doing more of the type of travel that I want to do, I need to build in more recovery and plan for that in advance. And so if I learned that lesson right now, watch out, because you won't be able to keep up with me at that point if I really plan for that in advance. So that's my summer of experimentation. Those are the core takeaways that I have. And so now you might be thinking, cool, Danielle, that was great. I love that you learned that. So what's next? What are you doing next? That's a great question. And I'd love to answer what it is that I'm doing next with this information that I just gathered. First things first, I'm going to keep showing up on Substack. I like Substack. I think it's cool. Who knows how that's going to result in long-term lead generation or all that other type of stuff strategically for the business. I don't know yet. Still early days for that. It's more of a long game for that platform, kind of like podcasting is more of a long game, but I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm going to report back when I got some more results. But so far, I think it's fun. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep engaging with people. And another thing is because I like that and I kind of see a vision for it connecting to this particular podcast as well. And so I think that there could be a cool synergy there that I want to test out in the future. So be on the lookout for that. So if you are a Substack person or you're at least curious, I'm going to have the links to that in the show notes. Go and check it out. Follow me there. I'm probably going to have like a cute little recap of all of this on Substack as well. So like engage with me, leave a comment. I would love to hang out with you all because I know a lot of you all have first followed me or found me through the podcast. And so I would love to connect with you in that way, in that platform. So that's that. The second thing that I plan on doing and testing is around hooks. I have been saying for literal years that I want to practice getting good at hooks. Now, I think I'm actually going to do it this time. And so you all peer pressure me into making sure that I actually do it. But here's why I have this inclination that I need to work on my hooks. Hooks are a really great way to be able to capture attention, and it's such a transferable skill in marketing. A good hook can translate into a very good email subject line. It can translate into a great video intro, into a great podcast intro, into a carousel cover image. All of those things are great transferable skills. Oh, elevator pitch. Like it's a great elevator pitch of being able to introduce yourself to other people. Being able to craft a great hook is just a really great skill. And so that's one of the things that I want to work on. What is the type of hook that works best for me and my personality style? What hook really engages with my audience and the people that I want to interact with and call into the community that I want to create? I think that's a really great use of my time. And so that's something that I want to work on as well. And the third thing, kind of going back to one of the things that I learned with the content that really works for me is I need to film myself more. Just doing things and living life. I need to do more of that. Like I said, doing voiceover style video seems to really connect with people, and that requires me having more clips of myself just doing things and living life and all this other stuff. And so I'm gonna need to have some more B-roll footage of me. And so I'm gonna have to experiment with that, finding my angles, doing new things, and this is part of it. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm actually recording this in a little bit different spot because I'm experimenting with that too, new video angles for things. So there we go. Those are the three things that I'm going to be working on in the future. It is not doing the most. It's three things, but I'm not going to be doing it all at once. The third thing, as far as filming, is kind of more of a passive thing that I just need to habit stack into the things that I'm doing. The very active thing that I'm going to be doing is going to be the hooks. And so where I'm going to focus on that first is in video. That's going to be the main thing that I'm going to do. So it pairs very well with the B-roll that I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. That was my summer of experimentation. Now, several of you over the time that I've been doing this experiment have reached out to me saying like, oh, this is so great. This is so cool. I love what you're doing. I should do something very similar. So I'd love to know, did you end up doing the same thing? Did you end up doing some of the same things that I did? Have some of the same struggles? Did you have different struggles? I would love to hear from you. So either you can reach out to me on Instagram, you can follow me at Danielle.R.Harris. Reach out to me there. I would love to hear what it was that you did, what you've learned, your takeaways, your ups, your downs, all of it. We can talk about it together, or you can email me. You can go to the link in the show notes and you can join my email list and we can email back and forth about what or some of the things that you learned during this time. I would love that too. Either way, I want to hear about what you learned and how you're going to apply that into the future. All right, y'all. Until next time, I'll talk to you soon. If you want more marketing that works right in your inbox, head to the show notes and sign up for the email list. You'll be the first to know how you can work with me on mastering your marketing.